Welcome to Ghoulish Gab, always spooky, always under 7 minutes. Hey, today we're going to talk about books versus movies. Books versus movies.
Versus movies.
Everybody has a fucking opinion on books versus movies.
And it's always really highly divisive for some. It doesn't need to be this serious, guys.
I think, well, here's the first thing. You can't take a book and just make a movie that's exactly the book. And I think a lot of people have a hard time. They don't want to separate the two so much. They like to sit there and say, well, the movie wasn't as good as the book, which is fine. You can like the book better, but they're different products. I think that you have to separate them. You can't just take one thing in this medium and then make it the exact same type of thing in a different medium, right?
That is an exactly correct point, because the fact is no movie is ever going to live up to what a book is. I mean, you can go into the whole, okay, this part was different in this chapter, this subplot was missed, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, if you're like me, and from what I understand, there are people that read a book and they just read a book, and then there are people like me who read a book and see it all in their head. Like, when I read a book, when I read Cujo for the first time, I had a very distinct impression of what the son looked like, what the mother looked like, what the dog looked like.
You thought the dog was a poodle, somebody else might
Yes, I obviously thought the dog was a poodle. Even though it was described as a St. Bernard, I actually thought it looked exactly like Seymour, your dachshund. Like, but that's what, like, you can never match up to everybody's expectations because you're picturing something in your head. But also, if directors had the time to go into every single subplot, that'd be great. But then they would never make any money because the production value would be insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have, a movie, usually an hour and a half, typically 1.5 to 2 hours. And I mean, some of these books, I mean, if you were really going to break them down, you'd need a lot more time. But just to credit your point, too, I mean, when you're reading a book to a certain extent, they're letting you fill in a lot of things with your own brain.
Yeah.
The books will lead you to imagine certain things, and they're not giving you all the details, so you're imagining things different than I would imagine something, or somebody else who's reading the exact same thing. So I think that's another point why the book can't be the same.
And to that point, like, if you're going to start talking like a movie is an hour and a half, as somebody who is currently trying to read 150 books this year, I am not there yet, and I will not hit it, but I have read 73 books so far this year, and some of them have been audiobooks. With the exception of some novellas, almost every book I read in audiobook format is at least 10 hours long.
Yeah, just to read the
book. Now, granted, you're getting a lot of descriptors that would be taken care of by being in a movie. Yeah. So you don't have to describe the house, the scenery, what the person looks like. But there's stuff that you're going to miss, like nuances, like what the character is, like the main character is thinking while it's happening. And that actor has to portray that in their facial expressions and their actions. But this is also where I think a big part of the movie versus book debate is that people complain that the actors didn't encompass the character well enough. But isn't that some of that up to interpretation?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, that's another...
Like, if you were going to be... So, if we talk... Okay, the biggest, in my opinion, book versus movie debate is The Shining. Stephen King doesn't even like Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining. But if you're going to be Jack Torrance... Like, are you going to do it the exact same way that Nicholson did it? Or if you were reading, like, you have to leave it up to the actors and hope they portray what you're trying to go for. But not everybody's going to act the same, and it's not all going to be the same as how you pictured it in your head.
Well, so I won't even generally, if I see a movie that's based on a book, I generally won't even go back and read the book because I feel like everything has been filled in for me. I only ever really did that once with The Clockwork Orange.
And you couldn't read it? Because I couldn't read that fucking book.
No, I read
understand
it. The glossary in the back helps. But the main reason I wanted to read that one was because I knew that the book went further than the movie. And so I was kind of curious to see how the real ending or the last chapter of that character was. But for the most part, yeah, if I see a movie that's based on a book, I don't have any interest in reading the book, and that's mostly because I feel that too much has already been filled in for me. And if I start reading the book, I'm going to be thinking about the movie for the most part, and I'm not interested in that experience anymore. I don't know if that's common or not.
I think it's common, but I think there is a separate perspective, because I am a person who separates the movie from the book entirely. In my opinion, if I go, there are movies that I've gone and seen because I read the book and I liked it. Like Harry fucking Potter. I read those books as a child.
You read the movie, read the book first.
Yes. But there are movies that I've seen, I didn't realize there was a book based on it. And then Jurassic Park is a good example of that. Okay. I watched the movies long before I knew there was books based on it. But I just take them as two separate things. Because when you are reading a book, you're getting the author's interpretation of a story. It's almost like a reboot. A movie based on a book is almost like a reboot in some way, because you are getting that director's interpretation of the story. Nobody's saying that it has to be a shot-for-shot redo. Yeah. It's just another artistic perspective on a film or on a book, I think this is going to be divisive no matter what happens.
Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah.
What do you think, real briefly before we quit, would be the best adaptation of a book to a movie?
In a weird turn of events, I think that despite the fact that Stephen King hated Kubrick's version of The Shining, I think that the movie adaptation of Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, is probably one of my favorite adaptations of a novel to a movie.
They had to work with the novels and the movie, and
it was done very well.
We're definitely out of time. Why don't you tell us your thoughts on books to movies, books versus movies, movies and books, and the books and the movies, and tell us.
How many books have you read this year? No shame, just tell me. I want to know.
Okay, bye.